I'm so excited to be here. I love you. Okay. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Rebecca. When I was growing up, if I was upset about something, my parents told me to go to my room and listen to my Annie record and sing, "The sun'll come out tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun." I kid you not. Did that help me feel better? No. I felt like my feelings didn't matter, that they weren't okay. Just as Dr. James says we were taught to do in his book, The 5 Questions, I literally kept my feelings behind closed doors. In my family, the only emotions we really expressed were those from the positive side of the spectrum, from good on up. I share this because we're on week 3 of our book study in Dr. James Mellon's book, The 5 Questions. So far, we've asked ourselves, why am I here, and what wants to know me? These are really great questions. And I hope if you've been reading along that you've been able to dig into these. Really dive in and ask yourself these questions, either as you've been reading by yourselves or in your book groups. This week's question asks us, what wants me to release it? An interesting way to ask this question. There's so much to gnaw on as we make our way towards discussing this question. Dr. James talks about how from a young age he was taught to always put his best self forward. Can any of you relate? We've all learned so many expressions to smooth things over. He mentions phrases such as, "It's all good," or "No worries." In my family, the question we got at the end of the day was, "So you had a good day?" Yeah, I know. So many of us were taught to keep our problems behind closed doors, not to acknowledge those negative emotions, which worked fine until it didn't. Until the actual feelings came up around a situation were too much and spilled over. And we didn't know what to do with them because we never learned how to express them. Or we learned that it was wrong to express them or to even have them. But then all of a sudden we were having those feelings because they were too big to hide or to hold back. Feelings like anger or depression or anxiety. What did we do with them? These were big and important feelings, and we needed to figure out how to handle them, because the truth is, those feelings are just as important and valid as any other feelings. Unfortunately, for many of us, since we never learned how to express those feelings or to feel them or to handle them, we adopted unhealthy coping mechanisms. Overeating or undereating or substance use or social media or TV or overworking or shopping or any number of things. Cleaning. Does any of this sound familiar to any of you? Thank you, yes. And what started as coping skills became something that we learned to rely on, to cling to, maybe without even realizing we were doing it. Why do we do this? Why do we hold on to things that do not help us in any way? Dr. James says one of the hardest things we do in life is to let go. This week's study guide reminds us that in order to let go of something, we have to be willing to acknowledge that it isn't working. Easier said than done. So often we hold on to things that aren't working for us because we believe they keep us safe. Or they're habits that are hard to get rid of. Or we just enjoy how they make us feel. But when we really, really look inside, we find that we will be free when we release. Have you ever held on to something for too long because you believed you needed it to keep you safe? Or because you believed you needed it, period? But then when you took a deeper dive, you realized it was holding you back from living into your highest potential. Many of you know I had an eating disorder, anorexia, for over 30 years. Talk about something I held on to for a little bit too long. This was my unhealthy coping skill. I was in and out of treatment centers and hospitals for years, but I believed it kept me safe, literally. I remember looking in the mirror one time after a Bikram yoga class and saying to myself in my head, my unhealthy, emaciated self, nobody will abuse me now. I honestly thought those words in my head. I thought I was finally skinny enough to avoid being abused. I knew on some level that was not true. It took me several more years to finally get to the point where I was willing to release that belief, to release my eating disorder, mostly release it. I had to get to the place where I was willing to let it go, to let go of what I thought was keeping me safe so I could find freedom, to acknowledge that it was not working, and it was not working. The freedom I've found since releasing that monster is indescribable and is definitely fodder for another talk. But suffice it to say, it was, as Dr. James says, one of the hardest things I have ever done. Dr. James has an important message for us. He says, we feel the need to be someone when, in truth, we already are someone. Each one of us is perfect from the inside out. Each one of us is perfect from the inside out. Can you just sit with that beautiful statement for a minute? Let it settle on your heart. No matter whether you are holding on to something or not, you are perfect from the inside out. No matter what kind of a day you are having, you are one with the divine. We are part of infinite love. No matter how we show up, that is not going to change. We are perfect from the inside out. Maybe you're holding on to negative self-talk. Maybe you're holding on to self-loathing or blame or guilt or an addiction or some other painful stuff. It doesn't matter. No matter what we have going on in our lives, we are divine love, perfect from the inside out. Louise Hay lived from 1926 to 2017. She believed that mental patterns and beliefs can manifest physically in the body. She taught that by changing our thoughts and beliefs, we can heal emotional and physical ailments. Her work emphasized self-love, positive affirmations, and the power of the mind-body connection. She's like awesome. I have her book, Trust Life, which are 365 affirmations. And it was pulled together after she transitioned. On October 10th, her entry reads in part, why do we so seldom ask ourselves, is that really true? For instance, why do I believe things like, it's difficult for me to learn? Better questions to ask are, is it true for me now? Where did that belief come from? Do I still believe that because a first grade teacher told me that over and over? Would I be better if I dropped that belief? Would I be better off if I dropped that belief, released it? What beliefs can you release? Dr. James firmly believes that identity is at the heart of most of our problems in life. He talks about how many of us don't know who we are. This is quite a statement. Most of us are adults who have been making our ways through lives just fine for however many years, thank you very much. And now Dr. James says we don't know who we are. What does he mean by that? He talks about being fearful that people would find out he wasn't who he was pretending to be. I think most of us have done that at some point in our lives, pretended to be someone we're not in certain situations. Whether it was in hopes that others would like us, or to impress our coworkers, or to get through challenging times by acting like we were okay when we weren't. I know I've done a lot of pretending to be okay when I'm not. I was also a card-carrying people pleaser for much of my life, although I've mostly let that go as I strive to live in authenticity. How does that serve us, really, to pretend? Does it help us connect to others in a genuine, heartful way? Does it help us live into our highest potential? No. You are the only one who knows if you have been living an identity that is not fully you. But I think if we're honest, many or most of us have done some pretending at various times in our lives. This is the ego at work. Our true selves are desperate to shine through and live into who we really are. And it's time to let go of the other stuff. Speaking of identity, of living into who we really are, Dr. James believes that who we are is who we decide to be. And that has everything to do with what we hold on to and what we release. He says, we come from generations of people who have learned that who they are is something visible, something traceable, something unchangeable. But that's not the truth. Excuse me. Who we are is whoever we decide to be. He goes on to explain, we create lives, careers, pseudo-personalities that keep us from addressing our very nature of our being. We mistake who we are with what we do. We mistake who we are with what we do. Have any of you ever done that? Yeah. We go to parties and we end up talking about what we do rather than who we are, what we love, what our passions are. Who we are is what we decide to, who we are is who we decide to be. What do you think of this statement? Certainly, we have choices about how we show up in the world. Choices about how we respond to the situations we encounter every day. Choices about how we react when we're triggered. Choices about how we talk to ourselves and others. In fact, Google Gemini says that we make over 35,000 decisions every day. And if Google Gemini says it, then it must be true. That's a lot of choices. Do these add up to who we decide to be? One big choice we get to make is what we release. So, this week's question. What wants me to release it? What wants me to release it? A very different question from what do I want to release? What wants me to release it? I tell you, I struggled with this question for a long time because I kept thinking about it as what do I want to release? And boy, I want to release a lot of stuff. I want to release my grief, my longing for a partner, my tendency towards clutter. And if you've been in my car or seen in my basement, you would want me to release my clutter too. My self-judgment. I want to release so many things. But none of that felt right. Dr. James says, but then I heard the way the question was posed. It's not asking me what I want to release. It's asking me what wants me to release it. For some reason, this felt different, as though there was something in me that needed to be let go, and in fact was pressing me to do so. One night, in the middle of the night, I was lying in bed thinking. Any of you do that in the middle of the night, lie in bed thinking? It's really annoying. I was thinking about a recent breakup, and all of a sudden I felt this rage. Rage. Now, as you know, I grew up in a family that didn't do negative emotions, especially anger. In fact, my parents used to brag that they'd never gotten in an argument. I didn't do anger. I had honestly never really felt angry. I know that you probably think that's nuts, but it's honestly true. I had avoided it like the plague. I had modeling that it just wasn't part of the equation. I had a terrifying experience with a neighbor when I was 6 years old that petrified me. And since then, I just avoided it. And so when this rage bubbled up inside of me, you will not believe what happened. I welcomed it. I was like, oh, there it is. I started to feel really angry. Angry that I lost my mom to Alzheimer's in January, 2 months after I lost my aunt to the same stupid disease. Angry that Alzheimer's exists at all and that it claims so many amazing people. Angry that my little brother is an alcoholic, and now I'm angry that he has brain damage, and that 2 weeks ago we had to move him into a memory care facility at the age of 53. Angry that I spent 30 plus years of my life struggling with an eating disorder. Angry that I still have a hard time with desserts, even though I'm doing so much better with my eating. Angry that I worry about money, even though I tithe every single week. Angry at the state of our country, angry at the state of our world. I mean, my anger was having a field day. And this anger just poured out of me. It was this huge, ginormous release, and it felt so good. It was beautiful, and it was freeing beyond words. And I realized this is what wants me to release it. My anger. The floodgates opened, and I released. And in order to release my anger, what I get to do is feel it. That's it. To feel it and work with it and let myself continue to experience it. It's a heart thing, a body thing. And you know what I'm learning about anger is it's not a big, hairy, scary T-Rex of a monster, which if it was a T-Rex, it would be a dinosaur, not a monster, but that's beside the point. Anger is just another emotion. It's not a negative emotion. It's on par with joy and love and sadness and fear and gratitude and anxiety and compassion. It's just another emotion. And now I get to feel it and express it and not be petrified by it. Not cower from it, but allow it. Zen master Philip Kapleau says, living fully means feeling fully. It means being completely one with what you are experiencing and not holding it at arm's length. Reading this chapter has expanded my emotional existence, and I am so grateful. But like I said, it took me a while to get here. I was looking at this question from the outside in rather than from the inside out. I was trying too hard. Sometimes, as Dr. James says, a soft breeze comes along that dances across your cheek. And often that breeze is carrying a lot of information. You just have to listen. He explains there is an energetic pulse to life moving through us with ideas and information and vibrations. A pulse, this pulse is who we are. It is alive inside of us. We can choose to listen to it and act on it or not. And it starts from when we're young, and we file it away for use at another time. I take this to mean that I learned from a young age that anger was just not safe, and that it was not okay. But that soft breeze that showed up showed me that that night it carried information that it was finally safe for me to feel it, to express it, to become it, to allow it. And so I did. What wants me to release it? What in you wants to be released? What in your life is asking for your attention? Is asking to be noticed, felt, acknowledged, released? Have you felt a soft breeze bringing you attention, bringing you information? It may come at the most random time, in the middle of the night, or when you're eating dinner, or when you're having coffee with a friend. The key is to listen, to be in touch with yourself, and tap into that sweet place inside that is open to what Spirit has to offer you. Allow yourself to ponder this question in meditation, or while you're out walking, or knitting, or baking, or dancing, or doing yard work, or playing with your kids, doing whatever you love to do. Allow yourself to listen and to let the question answer itself. Let the soft breeze dance across your cheek. What wants me to release it? What wants me to release it? We've touched on a lot today. Now you get to sit back and listen to what your body and your heart are telling you. Remember that the answer might not come right away. Don't try too hard. Know that there is no right answer. And what wants you to release it may surprise you. It sure surprised me. Thank you so much for being here, for journeying into release land, and for seeing what is possible. So much love to you.